So you mean to tell me you wrote this, you printed this, and now you're trying to deflect and say somebody else told you? So I just happened to run across this video and I had to react to it by Prime Larry Bird. And it's titled The Best Larry Bird vs. Internet Gangster Story You Ever Told. Now when I saw this man right here on the thumbnail, you knew I had to jump in on it. Because I do not like this man or any of his antics as it relates to the game of basketball. Has no business spewing the things out of his mouth about basketball. So I was excited when I saw this. I said, oh, I gotta react to this one.
Michael Jordan never beat Larry Bird in a playoff game. Larry Bird's Celtics went 6-0 against Michael's Bulls. Never beat them, and it was sweep. In fact, it sounds like maybe even Larry Bird was better than Michael Jordan. Watkins and Bird. What a touch. Bird. That's his game. He's probably the best that ever played at the game from that distance at his height. Over Watkins.
Give me that.
He knew that was going in. He was fading back on defense as soon as it left his hand.
Larry had muscles in, was his college? He had muscles right there.
I'm going to open with my Larry Bird at the Final Four story. I will be the first to admit I barely watched the Larry Bird game against DePaul.
Skip, who are you kidding? You barely watch basketball, period. You don't know what you be talking about, man.
Larry Bird, a phenomenal display. There's the timeout. Timeout DePaul. Larry Bird with 29 points has sparked the Sycamores into their biggest lead of the game. Larry Bird went 35, 16, and 9 in that game. Made 16 of 19 shots. 16 of 19? I barely watched. And a freshman for DePaul named Mark Aguirre, whom I got to know very well in Dallas. Did have the last shot in that game.
It's nice.
A little long, bounced high off the rim. Well, they're going for the win. Oh, one shot. You're going to know when to hold. You're going to know when to fold. Aguirre. Here it goes. Over. Indiana State has won it. The Sycamores are 33-0. It'll be that dream matchup. Urban Johnson of Michigan State. Larry Bird of Indiana State. That would have been a game winner. So I'm not that impressed. They probably should have lost to DePaul, but they didn't. But the point of that
such
evening
a
was
hater.
I barely watched Larry Bird. And, of course, I adjourned to Gil's hospitality suite after I finished writing. Later in the evening, Gil Brandt pulls me aside, and he says, listen, I got something for you. I've been talking to these coaches all day long, all the biggest coaches in college basketball, and they all tell me that Larry Bird will not be a star in the NBA because he is, and this was the quote, he's too slow-footed, said Gil Brandt to me. Too slow-footed, okay? And he said a few of the coaches believe he won't even make it in the NBA because he's too, quote-unquote, slow-footed. Okay. Well, again, I barely watched the guy. And I said, okay. And I go back to my room and I think about it. I sleep on it. I get up Sunday. I've got to write for Monday's paper. Finals, obviously, Monday evening. And I wrote it. You know, I couched it as many coaches here believe that.
Hello. Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me you wrote this, you printed this, and now you're trying to deflect and say somebody else told you this? Because I never watched the guy. I don't know where we're going with this, but this is where my head is going. I like to share where my head is going. We're going to keep watching and see what happens.
Larry Bird will not make it in the NBA because he's too, and I used the quote, slow-footed. I trusted Gil Brandt. He wasn't going to lie to me. He wasn't going to exaggerate. I believe that those coaches told him just that.
Throwing him under the bus now.
It, stuck by it, felt pretty good about it on Monday night when, predictably, Magic and Gregory Kelser had their way with Larry and the Sycamores.
Oh.
It really wasn't close.
Oh, and that made you feel even better about the story you printed. That made you feel even better. He threw this man under the bus. You said that. Now you're trying to throw it off on somebody else.
In the Sycamores. It really wasn't close.
Look at the pressure around him. 2-3 men. And he's short. Bird. Way short. Bird hanging. Can't score. Larry Bird has had a cold shooting night.
Magic, not only were you leading on offense, I thought you did a great job on Larry Bird in the zone denying him the ball.
Yes, Coach gave us a good game plan to go against Larry Bird, and all we had to do was go out and do it. That's what we done.
And congratulations, Super Bowl game.
Magic was the star of the night and the star of the draft.
The Los Angeles Lakers select Irvin Magic Johnson, Michigan State, 6'8", 200 pounds.
And back I went to Dallas, Texas as a young gun columnist on the rise. And I had already scheduled a speaking appearance, was sort of a banquet that I was going to speak at the end of. And the organizer says to me, you better be ready because they are riled up at you over your Larry Bird column. They are? Really? Okay. I'll be ready. So I spoke. And then I opened it up for questions, and I got hit right between the eyes by an angry mob. They barraged me with questions. How dare you? How could you?
I feel like I'm the most hated guy in town. Now I can't go back to the morning news for fear of being gunned down by the guards. Go back to clean out my desk. I haven't even done that yet. And I feel like I'll walk in the Times Herald and 20 staffers will dive on me and string me up from the fixture or something. You know?
And it became very clear to me that Larry Bird did indeed represent to these folks the great white hope. Not white eye, white hope.
Reed gets it to Heaton. He's the clutch player. He made it! Heaton, second time he did it. Time is over. Game is over. Bob Heaton keeps Indiana State undefeated. They're on to the Final Four.
Larry had to do more with less. I think, frankly, that Larry Bird getting the 1978-79 Indiana State team to the finals with a 33-0 record is the single greatest personal achievement in the history of college basketball.
Those folks believed in Larry Bird, and they believed he was going to be not just a star, but a big star in the National Basketball Association. And were they ever right?
Larry Bird was the baddest son of a gun on the planet. In a league with Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Dr. J. He was the best player in the world when the NBA was at a greater level. It ain't the same NBA. This sucker won 3 straight MVPs.
Let me ask you this. Would Larry Bird
get through
be
him at
the
one
best
point.
player in the world right now?
I believe he would.
Oh, he'd be better than Kevin Durant.
I believe he would. Yes,
No, he wouldn't.
I believe he would.
No, he wouldn't. Okay,
Larry
he just
Bird,
doesn't have the experience.
if his back didn't give out on him, if he didn't have surgery,
I'm not
if his
even
body didn't fail him,
talking about
we having a whole different conversation about Larry Legend. I'm sorry. He had it all.
I eventually learned that you have to see for yourself in my position. You have to trust your own instincts. You have to learn in my job that coaches constantly get fired because a lot of them don't know as much as I know. And that's the God's truth. That's the one thing I can tell you.
Boy, bye.
A lot of them don't know more than I know.
Boy, bye.
And I will, just quick aside, I made one other mistake in my career, maybe not quite as big as Larry Bird, but this happened before that, 98 draft, Peyton Manning versus Ryan Leaf. They filled my ears all year about Ryan Leaf. And I fell right back into the trap, and obviously I went with Ryan Leaf in that draft, and I was dead wrong, but not nearly as wrong as Bird.
This dude has no accountability. It's they said, I went with what they said. Well, what do you say? What do you know?
But the point is, trust yourself. And the conclusion of this story is that as Larry Bird rolled on into the NBA and made me look dumber and dumber, we came upon March 10th of 1986. Larry on his way to Dallas, Texas to play the Mavericks for his one stop a year in Dallas at old Reunion Arena.
A very dangerous offensive team. They leave it outside for Larry, and he picks up right where he left off in San Antonio. To 40 now, with 4:40 left in the half. McGuire counts the basket.
And by the way, the irony of that story is Mark McGuire used to tell me as a Maverick, you can't believe what Larry Bird does to me. He just terrorizes me.
DJ looking for Bird on the baseline. Now finds him in the middle. Little jump.
Y'all don't let him get to his spot.
It's Mark McGuire, who's an all-star.
Dennis Johnson takes it all the way, gives it to Larry Bird. Little up fake, little jump shot, little hoop. Bird is on a roll.
He trash talks me like nobody's ever trash talked me. He leans over into my ear and whispers stuff I can't even repeat to you. And he backs it up. I'm going to do this to you. And he does it.
Again. All right, inbounds to Bird. He takes it inside for a 2 and gets it with 11 seconds to go. Celtics foul Sam Perkins, and they're down by 1 with 10 seconds to go. For Sam Perkins. He gets that one, so it's a 2-point Dallas lead. And the Celtics bring it up court to Larry Bird. From 3. Yes! Larry Bird! A 3-point shot with 4 seconds to go. And the Celtics lead by 1. Oh, mercy! Incredible. Here's the shot by Bird that won it and puts the Celtics on this road trip.
Snatch their soul out.
Imagine the arrogance, the wonderful arrogance of a man who needs 2 to tie or 3 to win and says, let's roll the dice.
And by the way, he was on his way at that point to his 3rd NBA ring. He'd obviously won Rookie of the Year, and he was on his way to winning his 3rd straight MVP. So I went from wrong to wronger to wrong guest about Larry Bird. And so I decided that morning of that game to go to the shoot-around at Reunion and see if I could catch Larry Bird, who did not do interviews. He was a tough one. He didn't care anything about anybody. He needed nobody's interview. Magic, just the opposite. I got to know Magic when he was a rookie, and he was just great to me, for me, took me up to his hotel room. He was all-time great. Larry, just the opposite. Different strokes, but both of them all-time great. So I thought, I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to apologize to Larry Bird. Seeing, it's like I owed it to him. Just see how he might react.
We ain't care about your apology.
I said, I'm just going to take a second of your time. I was really wrong about you. I wrote blah, blah, blah. And he listened patiently for about 34 seconds. And he shrugged. He said, okay. And he walked away.
He don't care about your apology. Let me keep listening, because I ain't never heard this story.
And I deserve that.
Yeah.
I deserve that put down. But the Boston writers told me for Larry, that was like a soliloquy. That was like doing a stand-up comic routine. He didn't get an okay out of Larry. I do think deep down he appreciated it, but he wasn't going to give me back anything.
No.
He wasn't going to say, oh, don't worry about it. He just dismissed me with a shrug and an okay and a walk away. And I deserved it. And in the end, I learned about how you have to trust yourself. Now, I never, ever listen to anybody else when it comes to can he play or not play. You have to be the judge. You have to listen to the little voice in your head. You have to watch. You have to eye test. And you have to believe in you. I believe that Larry Bird was just a little better than LeBron James has been so far through almost 17 years. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, LeBron posts an ode to Larry Bird. He played in Michael's era. He was actually better for a stretch than the quote-unquote GOAT was, the star of The Last Dance. Michael Jordan never beat Larry Bird in a playoff game. Larry Bird's Celtics went 6-0 against Michael's Bulls. I'm just, okay? Never beat them. And it was sweep. In fact, it sounds like maybe LeBron's trying to make the case that even Larry Bird was better than Michael Jordan.
He always try to put words in folks' mouth. That ain't what he said. You do not know what Bron... He said what he said. Period. This is why I have a problem with Skip. Skip is the master of starting narratives out of his mind.
I was trying to make the case that even Larry Bird was better than Michael Jordan. You win 3 MVPs in a row, and you do have 3 rings, and you were Rookie of the Year over Magic, so all that adds up to me that, LeBron was right. This man was so cold. He got this one right. He was so cold that he was even a little colder than LeBron has been.
Larry Bird at his best, LeBron James at his best.
Oh, I gotta go with Larry Joe. I gotta go with Larry Joe.
You take Larry Joe.
Larry Joe for the win.
Skip, ready to take Bird over LeBron. Do you concur, my friend?
I do concur. In a hypothetical draft, would I take him over LeBron James to start my franchise? Yes, I would. And I don't think it's even close.
Now, you would think that Skip Bayless, as the ultimate contrarian, would be challenged by his co-host for such an opinion. However, this is one of the rare things that they 100% agreed on.
In terms of leadership, in terms of clutch, in terms of shooting ability, and overall championship credentials, not just trophies, but a mentality, Larry Bird gets the nod over LeBron James.
I'm guessing that right now about 80% of our viewing audience does not agree with either one of us.
Well, that all that means is that they don't know anybody.
They don't know.
I would love to pick LeBron, but in terms of clutch, money time, there's no contest. He's not even in Larry Bird's class. Not even close.
Now, this right here, I'm not 100% impressed with their answer. Not saying that Bird is not better than Bron. I'm not saying that. I honestly don't know. I done gave up on the rankings, trying to figure it out. I'm more inclined to believe it the way Jordan said it. It's about eras, because Bron's era is different from Jordan and Bird's era and Magic's era. They're different, so it's kind of hard. You're not comparing apples to apples, basically. So, but my whole point for pausing it was to say I'm not surprised that these two pick Bird, because neither one of them like Bron. They hate Bron, and that's my whole subjective argument. Is people pick who they personally, or they'll pick against someone because they personally don't like that person, that player. Give me somebody that's going to really be unbiased and give an unbiased opinion about it. For me I don't know, I'm definitely beginning to like and see the gifts that Larry Bird displayed on the court, his tenacity, and knowing what I know of him now. Me personally, I would pick Bird because I just feel like he's the more... without the athleticism, but he don't need it. You see what I'm saying? And Bron dominates because of, how athletic he is and because of the LeBron James system. Jordan dominated because of that triangle system. But Bird, he was just pure talent. And I probably should have saved this whole speech to the end of the video, but whatever. Probably won't say much at the end. But that's just what I'm thinking as I'm watching and listening to these two debate over. I can't, I take what they have to say as it relates to LeBron with a grain of salt. I do.
It's not even close. If you like stats, here's Larry Bird versus LeBron James season stats, while both are at the age of 30. Larry Bird averages more points, more rebounds, more assists, and has a higher field goal percentage. So when someone asks you, what is Larry Bird better at than LeBron? You can say
everything.
Pretty much everything.
Hold on, is he ahead of Larry Bird?
No.
No. What was Bird better at?
Bird's a better shooter. It's not close.
Obviously, Larry was a much better shooter than LeBron ever dreamed of being, because even from the free throw line, Larry was almost a career 90% free throw shooter.
I think Bird is as good or better as a passer, a much more fluid, much more natural passer than LeBron James, a creative passer. LeBron James, for a superstar, he's as good a passer as anyone outside of maybe Magic and Bird. Bird was a better passer.
And then as a passer, Larry Bird was gifted. He had that gift of seeing it before it happened. He just wasn't so much of a point guard as LeBron has often been, or point forward. But Larry 1 year averaged 8 assists. So you can see he had the capability of getting up toward 10 assists a game.
Bird's a better rebounder. The fact is that Larry Bird didn't stay healthy, and the fact is that basketball is played so differently now.
But Larry Bird, to your point, was a little better rebounder than LeBron. I don't think LeBron actually focuses on rebounding the way Larry did. And 1 year, Larry averaged 11 a game, which is pretty great. And then let's not forget the fact Larry Bird made 3 all-defense teams. 3. He did it mostly roaming, playing center field, stealing, disrupting, just getting his hands on the ball in passing lanes. He did, but he made 3 all-defensive teams. That's hard to do when you're not exactly known for your defense.
What I will say, unfortunately for LeBron, LeBron did this tweet. He's paying homage to Bird. And then he gets all this, I don't know, he didn't ask for all this. He just paid homage to Bird. And then everybody's debating who's better out of the two. What I will say that's unfortunate for Bron is people will forever, Larry Bird, he had his back injuries and all that, and I hate that his career ended. I do. I feel like we were all cheated in that, So I do hate that his career had to end. However, even with prime Larry Bird, the content creator for this video, he did the comparisons at age 30, or some people do the comparisons after 13 years. So that's one of the reasons why LeBron's legacy goes against him, because they're not going to use his full career in debate talks. They're not going to use his full career. They're going to always find a place to try to cut it off and compare. So I just noticed that a lot of people do that. And, right, wrong, indifferent, fair, unfair. I don't know. I'm not taking a stance on if I think it's fair. It's just something that I noticed, that LeBron, because of his longevity, he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to have to deal with people feeling like it's fair for them to cut his body of work to the point to where they want to compare him against another person. But that's just something I noticed too.
Teams, that's hard to do when you're not exactly known for your defense.
When it comes down to the end of a game in a championship series, I would rather have Larry Bird have the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is 1 game from my life, I want Larry Joe Bird taking my last shot. That guy from French Lick, Indiana. Game on the line, free throw, 3, jump shot, whatever it was. I'll take Larry Bird any day or any night over especially LeBron James.
DJ again to make the inbound pass. The double teaming Bird. Larry, fake, fall away.
All right!
Unbelievable.
There's no way on earth that I'd pick him over Larry Bird in the clutch. I can tell you that much. Larry Bird was not just a superior shooter from anywhere on the court, just like you highlighted. Not only was he a near 90% shooter from the free throw line, which LeBron could never brag about, but when you talk about money time, whether it's a particular juncture in the season where you're trying to position yourself for the playoffs, or you're talking about the last minutes of a game, or you're talking about the last shot in a game, or you're talking about a game 7, or you're talking about anything that indicates clutch, you simply can't pick LeBron over Larry Bird, because you can pick almost no one in NBA history over Larry Bird. When it was money time, You knew where the ball was going, and you also knew there was little to nothing that you could do about it. It was just a matter of whether or not Larry Bird was going to make it or miss it.
But even despite all of those numbers, to those who actually saw Larry Bird play, the eye test is all they need.
If you give me both these guys and you say you can start your team with either Larry Bird or LeBron James,
you're taking LeBron.
I'm taking Larry Bird
No,
and
you're
I'm
not.
taking my chances.
No,
Thank you
you're
very
not.
much.
You know what?
I know
No,
there
I'm
are other
saying-
numbers that will support you on LeBron. I may lose this, but you know what? I'm going with these, all four of them. And I'll watch that dude create an era that has some of the greatest players of all time playing. This isn't a diss on LeBron. I'm not dissing LeBron. I love LeBron. We both love LeBron. Everybody appreciates how great he was. But as time passes, it's easy to forget how great Larry Bird was.
So all of that said, right here, right now, Larry Bird remains the greatest small forward ever, period, end of story.
I have to admit that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought we was really going to be getting down on Skip Bayless. I was here for that. But it was still good to see that he had to retract what he printed. Now, he deflected and threw folks under the bus, and he writing what other people tell him to write, all that, right? But, it was good to see that Larry, had the last laugh in the end. What I will say in terms of GOAT and the debates and who's better and all this, because this ended up being about LeBron and Bird, and I didn't see that coming. I do like LeBron. That's no secret on this channel. I just used to have him as my GOAT, and I just now know he's not the GOAT. Do I think he's one of the greats? Yes. I love and I continue to say, I love what Jordan says in terms of you got to look at the eras. To piggyback off that, I like the way the narrative is sort of like trying to be had. Because if you think about their nicknames, I think it's fitting. You got GOAT Jordan, you got Legend Larry, and you got King James. It just goes to show how they're different. And they played in different eras, and they're different at different times. I do think it's unfortunate for Larry because of his injuries, because his injuries and him getting older. Then you had the young Jordan coming along, and he stopped Jordan. He did. He 6-0, but his injuries, he had to. I feel like we were all cheated, especially him. His body failed him due to injuries. But anyway, not much. Like I said, I thought this would be a nice, good, fun one to do because I think Skip is all this. I think Stephen A is all this. And I used to be a Shannon Sharp fan, but I think he's all this too. But anyway, that's all I got. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, stay safe. On to the next one. Peace.